Additional perspective on the situation in Ukraine. I spoke earlier with Marcus Papadopoulos. He is the editor of the UK-based magazine Politics First. He spoke to me from London, and he offered his predictions for the future of the country.
There is a very real chance of Ukraine splintering. Whether that means eastern parts, southern parts, and the Crimea splinter off into independent states, or if they seek reunion with Russia, it's very difficult to tell. Whether we have a situation like in Germany a few years after the Second World War, where two Germanys emerged, East Germany and West Germany, perhaps that could happen in Ukraine, West Ukraine and East Ukraine. But what I would say is this: if that does happen, if Ukraine does disintegrate or does become two states, that will not be Russia's fault. That will lie initially with the violent protesters and the irresponsible actions of the opposition, but ultimately the responsibility will lie with Washington and Brussels, because Ukraine should never have been treated as it has been treated in the last few months. But the fact that John McCain visited Kiev and called for the overthrow of the American government in new elections, it just demonstrates that John McCain, as many other American politicians and European Union officials, they only pay lip service to the notion of independence and sovereignty.
But Marcus, let me just interrupt for just a second, because there is the counter argument. There are a lot of people who say that Yanukovych was democratically elected, but then he tried to gut the democratic principles in the country, and that he holds some responsibility as well. And so let me ask you this about Yanukovych. If he is brought into custody, what do you think happens to him?
Well, yes, President Yanukovych was democratically elected. The EU accepted that, the US accepted that, but I can't see how he stifled democracy. Last November, President Yanukovych, he took a decision not to pursue closer economic relations with the EU. He chose to pursue closer economic relations with Russia. He had every right to do that. He had a mandate from the Ukrainian electorate, no different to how Prime Minister David Cameron in Britain wants a reformed relationship with the EU. Whether people like that or not is irrelevant. He has a mandate from the British people. And the fact that an arrest warrant is now out for President Yanukovych, and we're hearing talk about how he needs to be sent to the International Criminal Court, that's absolutely ludicrous. He had every right to pursue closer relations with Russia. And I find it interesting, but not surprising, how there's talk of the militants who died last week in Kiev, but there's no talk of the police officers that were killed by these militants, many of them killed in a very, very gruesome manner. So I think, once again, what we're hearing about an arrest warrant for President Yanukovych and taking him to the International Criminal Court is really what you find in Hollywood. It's sensational. It bears very little reality to what's actually been happening on the ground in Ukraine.
Marcus, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.